Now I want to hand it over to Brian for the next session, which is Pathways to Medicine, and you'll get to hear from our medical students we have here today. So we have Patrick, Shelby, and Nevin from the University of Washington, and we also have Friedrich from the University of Göttingen in Germany. So he can give a very international perspective. And then Ranjit can also answer questions. I'll hand it over to you, Brian.
Perfect. Well, without further ado, we'll get started. So I'll allow everyone to kind of introduce themselves and give a little bit about their background, just to kind of let people know where you're coming from, what you studied in undergrad, and kind of how you chose medicine. Then we'll get into some more specific questions. And I guess I should introduce myself as well. I'm a third-year medical student at UW. My background is in medical anthropology and biochemistry. So we can start with, let's start with Patrick.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for introducing me and nice to meet everyone. I'm Patrick. I'm a second-year student at the University of Washington. My background is in bioengineering and medical devices, but I kind of found my way more towards the clinical side of medicine, and so that's why I decided to pursue medical school instead of like industry or something else. But it's really nice to be here.
Perfect. Okay, Nevin.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Nevin Califf. I use he, him pronouns. Classmates with Patrick and Shelby on this call too. I studied biochemistry in undergrad and also did some music on the side. I took 4 years off in between undergrad and medical school and did a master's in public health. I focused on health behavior and health promotion with my degree and did some work with street outreach here in Seattle during that time. Really excited to be here and to get to know you all. If you have any questions too, feel free to drop them in the chat. And I think after the call too, I can leave my email address and you're welcome to reach out with any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nevin. Here, Shelby.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Hey, my name's Shelby. I use she, her pronouns, also second year medical student at UW. I was an out of region applicant, and so I applied while living in California. Prior to medical school, I did a double major in Native American Studies and biology at my undergrad. Very passionate about community building and Indigenous health, and that all kind of led me to pursue medicine. Excited to be here.
Amazing, excited to have you. And then Ranjit.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Ranjit Singh, and I'm a medical graduate from India, and also a residency candidate for this year. And so yeah, for the past couple of months, I'm working on this whole process into applying into residency, and I finished my USMLE journey, and hopefully we'll be matching this year. And also, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask me, or you can send me a direct message through the chat. And yes, if you have any question regarding this USMLE journey, being an international medical graduate, just please feel free to ask me. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you. And then last but not least, we have Friedrich from Germany.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I'm a fifth-year medical student in Göttingen. So in Germany, we usually don't have any undergraduate degree before going into medical school. So I did not do this. I go directly from our high school. However, I did a bachelor in computer science, like in parallel during my first years of studying. And I'm currently doing a master's in data science, also with computational neuroscience as major. So if you have any questions regarding the combination of these two fields, please ask. Also, if you have interest in maybe studying medicine in Germany from abroad, feel free to ask. Thank you.
And so before going into more questions, I just kind of want to highlight everyone has such diverse paths into medicine, and the beautiful thing about medicine is that it allows for a lot of like very unique variation in your interests, your passions, and your pursuits. So everyone can kind of carve out their own niche, and there's no like one traditional path that you have to take to go into medicine. So I just kind of wanted to highlight that. Well, without further ado, I'm just going to ask some questions, and then if you feel like you want to answer it, you can like pop on and answer these specific questions. So I always like to start with this one. What do you wish you knew beforehand before starting medical school?
We can probably go in an order, Brian, so. Maybe the
Yeah.
same one we did.
It looks like Nevin wants to talk to us, so I'll pop it over there.
Yeah, I can start, and I think my question kind of goes into a lot of schools recognizing gap year experiences, but something that I wish I had known before going into medical school is how much those extra years off have helped me with the class curriculum, clinical stuff, and then also like the academic, the foundational, the science building. But time and time again, my experiences in between undergrad and medical school have really just meeting patients or seeing clinical scenarios and working up building my professional identity has really helped me form who I am as a medical student, and has really geared me well to tackle the curriculum and work through different challenges that you face along the way through medical school and into the career of being a physician.
Yeah, maybe fitting to that comment, I would hop on that. It's actually so yeah, in Germany we can start university and medicine directly after finishing high school, and I did this. And for me, I always wondered whether it was the right step to do it directly after high school. So maybe a gap year with some other experience and so on could have been also a super nice approach to do it. And maybe the most or the main idea here is you don't need to be like super stressed to get as soon as possible or as fast as possible to med school. And a lot of fellow students, they actually did some vacations, not only vacations, but also they're trained nurses and so on, and they had a lot of experience as well, which are quite useful for the studies. So I wouldn't hesitate to make a gap as well.
I think I'll just reiterate what's already been said, and I think they both explained it very nicely. But I think maybe in college and a little bit in high school, there was kind of this idea, or maybe it was just for me, that there's like one direct path into medical school, and that people will tell you if you want to get into medical school, you have to do these things and you have to do it this way. And I think that's not necessarily true, at least not in my experience. And I think from all the talks that we've had, it's very clear that medicine is truly interdisciplinary. And so I think having a diverse range of experience and following your own path into medicine is probably the best way to go, because we need more people who have diverse experience in medicine.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think another thing that I'll add is just to have confidence in yourself and have confidence in your path and the things that you're passionate about. I had a surprisingly high amount of doubt during my application process. Not that I'm an overly confident person, but I was pretty doubtful. And I think just believing in your application, your experiences, and your story, and like following that through, and also letting that ground you and guide you during medical school and wherever you go, can be really powerful and really uplifting.
Absolutely. You all have summarized it so well. And as someone who also took a few years off before medical school, I can say it was something I was very grateful I did, because it gave me time to kind of think about who I was and who I want, like what I wanted out of life and out of a career in medicine, Whereas if you're constantly working and constantly trying to be like preparing for medicine, oftentimes you don't have that space in those moments to kind of like really reflect and take that time to like grow yourself. Well, Ranshirji, I saw you unmuted.
Yes, you pronounced my name correctly. So what I will suggest you, so being from India, so I know it's system is a little different in getting into med school comparing to US. So I would suggest if you are somebody applying in India in med school, they should start early, and they should have a experience in different fields, not only in the medicine. So and also once you guys are in med school, I would suggest you to start early, especially for international medical graduates, because it's a long journey, and I didn't know that it's going to be that long. So I covered my journey so fortunately, and I've reached at this stage that I'm applying residency this year. And I'm also, if you guys want to have want to contact me for any information, I would love to help you guys. Just send me a direct message in the chat, and so I will be happy to guide you in this process. Thank you so much.
That's an incredibly kind offer. And so I think that's a really good transition into kind of discussing what does medicine and a career in medicine look like in your specific national context. And so what does the training process look like? And then what does it look like to practice? And since we have people from about 3 different nations, I think this would be a really good question to kind of jump into now.
We can go in the same order maybe, or go ahead.
Well, Friedrich, I see you unmuted.
No, I actually wanted to say maybe it's, I think for me it would be easier if the US could start, because then I could compare the systems.
Yeah, I can attempt my way to go through this. I will say I'm not super familiar with the entire process or all its details, and it's a little confusing, but generally how the timeline works is you'll go to medical school for 4 years, and then you'll build a little bit of foundational and clinical experience. At that point, you will choose a specialty you want to pursue a residency in, and then you'll go into a residency program, which can vary in length. I don't know what the shortest one is, but the longest one can be anywhere from 6 to 8 years. And then if you want to subspecialize or go into a fellowship, you can also choose to do that. You can also take an intern year. And then after your residency and fellowship and whatever, you are considered an attending, and then you will be practicing as an attending physician. So the process is quite long, and it does kind of vary in time depending on what specialty you want to choose. But if either Shelby or Nevin want to add on to what I said, that's kind of my understanding of what the process is like.
Yeah, I think Patrick, you summarized it very well. It's 4 years of, in the United States, it's 4 years of medical school after undergraduate, your bachelor's degree. You go into residency anywhere from 3 to 7 or more years, and then you can add on a fellowship to subspecialize. Something I do want to bring up as a point is during your 4 years of medical school, there are options to add on like dual degrees. And so, for example, something that I was strongly considering was the MD MPH program. And so here at the University of Washington, if you add an extra year in between your kind of your foundationals and your clinicals, so in between, I think it's second and third year, you can spend a year concentrating on a public health topic. And so that can be, there's a global health one, there's like a community oriented practice one. I ultimately decided to do the MPH separately and before medical school. And so I did 2 full years while working full time, and then also came back afterwards to go into medical school. So there's different options you can do. Some other ones include like Masters of Science, you can do MBA programs and other things like that. Shelby, I don't know if you have anything to add onto that.
Yeah, they both summarized it great. The only thing I'll add is just for like at least the medical school, the 4-year experience, that can vary in terms of how long your didactic or like book work period is, and then shifting into your clinical rotations. At UW, we start clinical experiences pretty early, but at other schools, it's like your first 2 years are basically all book work, and then you start rotations and clinicals after that for the remainder of those remaining 2 years. And so if starting clinical experience is important to you, then I would look into that for the schools that you're looking at applying to in the US.
Yes, I
Hi.
can.
Sorry, I would just like to add, like, in case it's hard for someone who wants to get into medicine and they don't know if they really want to do it or not, like they just want some clinical experience. Like there are a lot of health fairs happening around you. You can like search them up, maybe go, like if not volunteer, just go watch it, like see people what they're doing, how they're doing. I think that also helps with like, like just getting a clear view of if you're attracted towards it or not. Like it helps you get some clinical experience with it. Yeah.
I totally agree, Akanksha. Thank you for information. So in India, we have about 5.5 years of med school. And in that, we have 4.5 years for like college. We do rotations. And after 4.5 years, we go for 1 year internship. And so after doing internship in India, like we can do practice independently as a physician after 5.5 years of med school. And and we start our clinical rotation early in the second year of our college. And yeah, so I would suggest to the students who are applying into residency over in US, they should start as early possible, and they should start focusing on their clinical rotations as early as possible. Even in the second year, they should they should focus on the cases and also study along with your your books to the USMLE journey. So yeah, that would be a perfect idea to enter into a residency path. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then Friedrich?
Yeah, so in Germany, as I already said, we don't need an BA or MSc to go into med school. We can go directly into medical school after our university entrance diploma. We have, I think this kind of similar, we also have like a centralized study place distribution platform online, and where you match to the university depending of your preferences and grades and other factors and so on. And yeah, usually 10% of the study places, they are given to the people with the best scores in the university entry diploma. And then there's 30% are given to the people with the best grades. And then we have 10% special cases, for instance, if you have been a nurse before and show interest into going into medical school and so on. This is considered very beneficial. And the rest of the 60%, they are greatly depending on the university. Mostly, or the main factor there is again the grades, but also volunteer work or gap years and so on are strongly considered there. In Germany, we have these like structured gap years where you could work in a hospital, and this can be seen as one part of your mandatory internships you have to do within the first 2 years. So it can be another beneficial point to do this as well. Then you study medicine for about 6 years and 3 months minimum. You have 3 state examiners in between, and the first 2 years are really only natural sciences. You do not have any clinical contact at all. Then you have 3 years clinical studying, and 1 year it's called practical year, where you basically walk with a doctor or a physician and help them in everything they do. And after that, you would go and specialize for another 5 to 6 years. This is like the basic way, I think, in Germany. Also, I know there are some like MD PhD programs in the US. So in Germany, it's medical students or medical professionals usually do not do a PhD. They do another doctorate, which is not equivalent to a PhD in the international comparison, but within Germany, it's equivalent. And the interesting point there is that you can do this while doing your studies. So this is, maybe also interesting. And I want to point out that in Germany, the universities are free. So this is, I think, a great difference to the US, where you pay a lot more for med school than in Germany. So we have like 300 euros for one term, but for that you get like free transportation tickets and so on. So
Little bit of a difference in price.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that perspective. So we're running a little short on time, but I want to make sure we're able to kind of address one of the questions in the chat we've been kind of messaging about, which is about like clinical experiences you felt prepared you the most. I think that we can kind of broaden that a little and just kind of try to end on this note of like, what advice would you give to someone who's entering college or in college wanting to prepare themselves for medical school? And so a few of us talked about like prior careers in like health outreach, careers as like emergency medical services. But I'd love to hear kind of what you feel like really prepared you from undergrad for medical school.
I think Nevin had a really great point, and so I just want to highlight that. I think direct patient-facing experiences, and you can talk a little bit about this more, Nevin, were really helpful for me. But if you want to talk about that more, Nevin, go for it.
Yeah, I can talk about it. I mean, just not only will it help you like apply to medical school, because I think I can confidently say most, if not all, medical schools will be looking for direct patient care facing activities on your applications. It's just been a great way to reflect on, what you're learning. Are you able to interact with patients? Are you able to, do the things you're expected to do as a physician? And, that really gears you for medical school, and then, building those interpersonal skills. Also, it's been very helpful, like within the medical school curriculum. There'll often be times when we learn about certain pathologies or diseases or different processes, and I'll remember a patient I had who had a similar presentation, and that'll help me consolidate that learning and to be able to reflect on why it's important. I think there's a lot of studying in medical school too, and I think at the UW we put all of that kind of learning the basic sciences and the pathologies and the diseases in the first 2 years, and it can often get pretty overwhelming. And so something that I love to do throughout medical school too is to like space out that learning with clinical volunteering still. So I still try to volunteer. I volunteered with Patrick, I volunteered with Shelby, and we'll get out. And it kind of reminds me why I'm here, why I care about patient care, and why I chose medicine as a career. But those early experiences before medical school were really valuable in learning, how can I best engage with this patient? How can I engage in a conversation and show empathy with my statements, and let them know that I'm here to care for them. I'm able to communicate those better. Pass it over to Shelby. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure, I can add. I will say in my application, like I had pretty minimal clinical experience, especially applying during some of the hardest years of COVID. And so like my clinical experience really was primarily physician shadowing. And so, I made that work for my application. But I think another thing to focus on is just something that you're super passionate about, and show that you're sticking with that, and show that you're putting effort into something that you are passionate about. And for me, a lot of that is about representation of underrepresented voices in medicine, in education, and really uplifting Indigenous voices, other BIPOC voices. And so finding ways to do that, whether that's through like recruitment and retention, types of admissions outreach, doing, you know, admissions workshops for Native people from communities that you come from. If that's something that you're passionate about, then, you know, lean into that too. Like clinical experience is very important, but it's not always everything. And so there are other ways that you can, you know, support other underrepresented voices in medicine that and that can also only help your patients.
Amazing. So unfortunately, I think we're out of time. We're a little bit over right now, and I don't want to be delaying the conference too much, but if anyone has any questions for like further questions for our panelists, and the panelists are okay with people contacting them, it'd be amazing if you could throw your contact info into the chat for people. But without further ado, I'll pass it back to Mayor.
Thanks so much, Brian. And thanks so much to all our amazing medical students for giving such a great perspective and a wholesome perspective on medicine. This is very amazing.